Next is the superintendent's report. So I turn this over to Dr. Hefner.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Just a couple of things I would mention briefly this evening. One is earlier, about 2 hours ago in this very room, we received the good news from our Advanced Ed reaccreditation visit that has been going on this week that we will receive our reaccreditation from Advanced Ed. And I certainly want to thank Dr. Milton and all the members of our staff who worked so diligently to put our visit together, and all of the people who participated and came forward. And that's a great day, and I think they've said a lot of very nice things about us. Also, I want to announce that Dutch Fork High School received its accreditation as an advanced STEM school. I think it's the second one in our state to get that accreditation, so we congratulate Dutch Fork High. And then I would announce, too, that I hope that your schedule will permit you to attend one of the performances of our district musical, Grease, the school version, which will be playing tonight, tomorrow night, Friday night, and Saturday afternoon, where there are students from all of our 4 high schools participating in this production, and I'm sure it will be excellent. So lots of good things happening, and at this time I would call on Dr. Milton, who is going to give us, I understand that at our when you all met with our teacher forum members at their recent meeting, there were a number of questions about where we are with regard to teacher evaluation. So I've asked Dr. Milton to let you know what the current status is and what our process is for working on this. So Dr. Milton.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner, Madam Chair, board officers. This PowerPoint slide I'll be previewing for you tonight is going to be almost a 30,000 feet perspective for you all to see. I'm going to do it fairly quickly out of the sake of time, but more importantly, I'm going to pause on those slides where I really want to make sure you have a clear understanding as to the process School District 5 has chosen to implement for these decisions that we've been making. I'll say to you in the beginning, although the slide says teacher effectiveness in School District 5, we're following the lead of our State Department, who is trying to make sure we're in compliance with federal expectations. In District 5, we've chosen to do things a little bit differently. We've chosen to make sure that our teacher representatives through our faculty advisory, our teachers of the year this year and the previous year, who meet with Dr. Hefner and his executive staff on a monthly basis, have been instrumental in making decisions about this process. So I'm going to highlight for you some information just for you to be aware as to what's going on. But we really credit our teacher leaders for these decisions that we have made thus far. So to get things started, the first slide that you see has a lot of technical information for you. And basically what I'll make sure that you understand is this is to be in effect based on federal expectations for the 2015-2016 school year. And this is aligned with what the federal government expects to be in compliance with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. We want to make sure that the third bullet that you see, this is something new for South Carolina, where we're looking to measure the growth of our students in a formalized way that we'll be focusing on training throughout the summer and the new year that's ahead of us for next year. The next slide that you see has a lot of technical information for your information, but we've tried to highlight in bold print those areas that are the greatest information for you to see. Obviously, number one highlights for you student growth. We want to make sure that our teachers understand that we are measuring growth of students, and it depends on the content of which teachers teach as to how that's going to be measured. For example, South Carolina, as you know, has an alphabet soup of all the assessments that we give. So those classes that are taught for language arts and mathematics, they already have a state assessment. We will be measuring the growth, the value of adding that our teachers are doing to grow students for those teachers in those content areas. But on the flip side of that, we also have some content areas outside of ELA and mathematics. So in that way, we'll be writing student learning objectives, which you see for compliance with student growth as the number one. So regardless of what's taught, we are going to find the appropriate way to measure the growth that our teachers are having through their instruction to reach the needs of our students. The second one is hopefully going to highlight an area that we're already doing in School District 5 because that's in compliance with state expectations. You see the highlighted part in bold is the professional growth and development plans. Our teachers who are on continuing contract, meaning after the second year, their third year and beyond for their career, they already do this on an annual basis with input from their principals. So they sit down with an administrator, they write a professional growth plan unique to their needs, and they meet 3 times throughout the school year to make sure we're monitoring the growth of those plans. So to bring comfort, that's nothing new for us. We're just going to keep on doing what we've been doing. Number 3, observations. We already do that in School District 5. We expect our administrators to be in classrooms of teachers, so this should not be anything new for our teachers to be alarmed by. It's already what we do. The difference will be there will be a state instrument that will be expected to use to be training for our administrators to make sure that we're all using the tool that's consistent across the state of South Carolina. At this point, that instrument has not been chosen, so I can't offer you the name of that, but once it's chosen by South Carolina, then we'll start training the administrators so as they do observations, they know consistently how we calibrate it to make sure that teachers are getting the adequate support that they need. Number 4, teachers will confer with and receive feedback. We are already doing that. They get feedback from our administrators, whomever's assigned to work most closely with them. They're getting feedback after observations, after assessments come in. So this is just going to be a continuation of doing what we already do. Number 5, the long-range plans, work samples, those are done in unique situations. If a principal is concerned about a teacher's performance, they may already have them on an improvement plan where they expect them to bring in these tools and artifacts. But that's going to be something that will be based on the individual, the teacher, based on the administrative concerns, and based on the input of the teacher. So that won't be standard for all teachers. Instead, it's going to be used in unique situations to make sure that we're supporting our teachers' growth. Now, the next slide is a place that I want to make sure that you're clear about this, because this is where we have charged our faculty advisory to make sure that they are weighing in on how these decisions are being made so that when we write our plan to submit to the State Department, the plan that we are writing has a teacher voice influence in it. It's not something administrators are designing, it's something that teachers are weighing in on. So you see the 2 headings, without district choice or with district choice. So here's what our teachers are now currently gathering for us. If our teachers decide that they would like to recommend to us that we have the model that's without district choice, we're basically looking at an 80-20% model. A 20% we're measuring growth of our students, and then 80% of that would be about the professional development tool, the professional tool that we use to measure growth, currently known as ADEPT. That's the standard South Carolina instrument that's used to evaluate teachers during their first and second year, to acclimate them into the field of education. And then after the second year, typically our teachers no longer use that instrument. It's the same instrument we've been accustomed to using. We're just going to be adding the student learning objective as a new standard under the ADEPT process. The other option that we have will actually triangulate our choices, offering a third option for districts to use, and we would have to work out within these ranges of percentages you see, how might we decide to divvy up these percentages to total 100%. So student growth is required by the federal government. We have to make sure we require that. So if you notice on that first bullet to your right, it has to be at least 20% of a teacher's overall effectiveness score. Could be up to 40%, but it could be as low as 20%. The second bullet, professional practice, that again is the ADEPT instrument, the standardized tool that we use in South Carolina for teachers in their first and second year, but now it's going to be used for teachers throughout their career, not just for the first and second year within the field of education. And then the third piece is a district option. This is something I'll show you in the next couple of slides what that's could include. So the district option will be unique to School District 5. If we chose this, then our teachers would then weigh in on those choices of a menu in a sense. Which ones of these things might be the best to match the needs of School District 5. So to recap what the assignment is right now for our faculty advisory teacher committee, our representatives, is to choose between district choice or without district choice. So they've taken this back to their faculties. We've been working on this, and I'm going to show you the next slide. Shows how we've been trying to build consensus through our faculty advisory. You see this has been going on since February. So every month, February, March, and April, we have devoted time during the monthly meetings that we have had with faculty advisory to make sure we're trying to present to them information. And there's always a caveat when I present this. This is what I know of as today. Tomorrow it could change. And throughout these 3 months, there has been a change, usually after this. The state submitted a plan on March the 31st to the federal government for their approval. So right now, we are in the wait and see what the response is from the federal government of the plan that South Carolina has submitted. Once South Carolina gets the feedback, then we have the authority to write our plan with our teacher input, that our plan is reflective of the wishes of our teachers rather than following what neighbors may be doing or what everyone else across the state may be doing. But we're fortunate we've had 3 months of this, and we've already targeted the next meeting, which is in May, to make sure that we have a final recap of these decisions to make sure that consensus has truly been reached. Now, I mentioned to you earlier, if our teachers were to weigh in and choose the district choice option, what might those include? So this is a sampling of what this could include. ranging from using additional measures of student growth, maybe something the district has created such as a benchmark, all the way to surveys or teacher reflection. So should our teachers choose the model of with district choice, our next decision would be to choose among these bullets that you see here as this menu as to what might that be. So those are more decisions to be made in the month of May. Finally, I've left with you a quote that I actually lifted out of the report, and I don't like reading to people, but since everyone may not be able to see the slide easily, I'll just read this quote. Every student in South Carolina schools deserves an effective teacher. Teachers deserve timely, thoughtful feedback about their practice to grow and develop at all stages of their professional career. In School District 5, our focus is to make sure that we are growing teachers, supporting instruction, not to penalize our teachers, instead to support them, give them the resources they need, give them the feedback they need so they can be successful. This is not a model that we're going to use to try to get teachers out of the field. We saw earlier today, our results in the classroom are much higher than the network average across international results. So our role is to make sure that we use this model to help assist and grow our teachers to better reach the needs of our students. Dr. Hefner, that completes the report. Should you like questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Do any board members have questions? Ms. Hammond?
The state plan you're saying, or we can submit ours, each school district individually can have their own if it's approved by the state?
Yes, ma'am. Once the federal government approves the state of South Carolina plan, the South Carolina plan offers one of those two options, with district choice or without. And then Ms. Brown and her staff have to submit the plan to the State Department of how we plan to do this, and that's due the month of June. So we'll meet with the teachers in May. She and her department will get quickly writing in this, as well as the instructional support, and then it will be submitted to the State Department for the month of June.
And is there any, this is a different subject, but the same thing, are you measuring the tool for measure of growth is what really concerns teachers the very most? Because
Sure.
every kid you get comes at a different level.
Right.
And we know of differentiating teaching, but it's still hard.
Right.
Is there any new tool that you've seen that they're speaking about to actually measure that growth that may put teachers at ease?
Well, I'll say Mr. Bounds and Missy Wall Mitchell, through accountability, they're instrumental with being our leaders with that particular area. But there's a system that Missy Wall Mitchell and her staff have been leading principals. In fact, there's a meeting tomorrow afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, on the EVOS system that's going to add look at the value added measure of that. But fortunately, I can say that South Carolina has been very thoughtful and slow with this, so the actual observation tool has not yet been chosen. But we believe that our data team process, which you heard is a powerful practice earlier today, we believe that our teachers have an advantage over many neighboring districts because we have focused so hard for the last 5 years on preparing our teachers to use data and to grow them. But I'll also add an additional caveat of that. Because of this, the design of this model, if a student were to come in and not be in attendance for a percentage of the year that's adequate to show that the teachers had an opportunity to grow that student, then the teacher will not include that student with their roster. So you have to have been in attendance as a student enrolled in that class for a percentage of the time to make sure you could truly impact that student. It wouldn't be fair to you to have a student come in just weeks before an assessment's given and then you be held accountable and you haven't had the chance to get the instruction in. So a little bit of free.
SPED kids, are they still, their growth added into that?
There will be, and that's
Thank you.
part of the uncertainty right now from the department. We're going to have to look, might that be individual measure towards each IEP goal and objective? Might that mean that a percentage of the students on that teacher's caseload? There's a lot of we don't know yet, and that's one of the areas that we
They
just
are
don't
looking
simply
at
know.
that, 'cause that's
Yes, ma'am.
such a concern.
Yes, ma'am.
With special needs.
And this is
they're
part of the
all-
EVOS system that Mr. Bounds and Ms. Wall Mitchell are working with that to make sure that we look to see the percentage of the time a student is in School District 5 classrooms, what percentage of that time is that student actually in your classroom versus a resource teacher's classroom? Or if you're a gifted student in that classroom and you're pulled out for elementary, how much time does that gifted teacher have with that student versus a homeroom teacher?
Ms. Watson, I have one more and I'll be finished all at one
Thank
time.
you.
It's a different, they were each different subjects of the same broad subject. For new teachers,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk about that. Recruiting
Sure.
and retaining
Mhm.
is so important, and we do a great job.
Mhm.
But in that adept, do they get a couple of years before, because a lot of times there's improvements.
Right.
And I know we sit down and you give an improvement plan.
Right.
How long in our district, do we give them,
Mhm.
extra time to get it all right, or what's your goal for our new teachers?
Well, by state law, we could give an annual one, an induction, annual one, annual two, but we've been fortunate. The success rate of our annual one, meaning your second year of teaching, has been quite successful. So under Ms. Brown and her department, there's a monthly meeting with our induction teachers. And part of our plan for next year will be support of those induction teachers throughout the school year. We're going to train them along the way to make sure they're ready for that formal year, the second year. So the first year for any new hire teacher that's a first-year teacher in any classroom, considered to be an induction teacher, this system will look a little differently for them than it will be for someone who's on a continuing contract, a little more seasoned. So we'll grow them into that to make sure that we set them up for success, to keep them in the profession, to make sure they're reaching students and staying in the field to contribute to our
It does
success.
happen, and I think we need to be that cutting edge.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your concern for them.
That's it.
Are there any other questions?
I just had a quick comment. Dr. Melton, I appreciate you doing that. I think we shared with Dr. Hefner when we met with the Teachers of the Year in different schools. First question that I think several of us got was about that. So there's probably some folks out there that haven't heard what you just said. I did have a little brainstorm. This is dangerous when it happens, but I was thinking about it. Your presentation was just filmed. Would it be a way, would you all think about maybe making a clip and put it on our website, and every teacher could hear your explanation? But one thing that did come through loud and clear from our teachers is they don't mind being evaluated at
Sure.
all. The unknown is a little bit unnerving, and then just a fairness aspect, and there's a lot of that being worked out. But you know, it's a new avenue, and I think it's proof positive today. Our teachers are doing a great job.
Well, I
And there has
appreciate.
to be an evaluation tool, so I
Certainly.
think we'll have a good one.
I appreciate the idea. What we've done to this point that I should have included in this presentation, during the 3 months we've met with teachers, the PowerPoints that I have led, they have since gotten a copy of, so they can take it back and use it with their teachers. But I will say, it's uncomfortable to put a teacher in a position when you hear a presentation once, you're thinking of questions you may want to ask. So they're taking the presentations back and using and then posing questions to me through Ms. White to make sure we're answering questions, but we haven't filed the video. And I would nominate Mr. Bounce with video because I'm not a video kind of person, but we can certainly do that with, perhaps as long as Ashland directs the camera elsewhere, I can do a
Yeah.
voiceover, but
Well,
we can
it's-
find a way to get that. That's an innovative idea that I appreciate.
Well, and it sounds like, too, the final decisions be made in the June timeframe probably, so there's going to be a lot of, it's just, I think that might be a nice little way to stay in
Certainly.
touch and say, here's where we are. And then Mr. Bounds could update that.
There you go. Well, I just very much appreciate our teacher leadership. Our teachers have had the opportunity this year to be teacher leaders, to take things back, to make decisions, and then come back and represent those that they do. And they have just taken great pride in this and great responsibility in addition to what they were already doing. And I just have to give a commendation to all of our teacher leaders because they have taken this very seriously, have posed some very thoughtful questions, and remembered that this has been a sensitive topic for all teachers, and they have done it so well that I just want to make sure that it's publicly said to them our appreciation for their work and for their leadership.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Milton. At this time, we'll have our monthly update from the Office of Design and Construction, Mr. McAllister, our Director of Design and Construction, and I think with him is Barry Edwards from our construction management firm.
You are correct. Mr. Evans will give you your monthly update.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle. Okay, you gonna do that?
I can do that.
Okay. Madam Chairman, Dr. Hefner, members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. We want to start first with the Irmo High School project. As noted in your, hopefully, report that you have in front of you, we had the final milestone inspection by OSF on April the 8th. Overall, it was a very good inspection with the amphitheater area, the basement connector area, and some other areas that they always drop back and look at while they're there in the building. The inspection went well. However, as customary with OSF, they always ask you to do something else or something extra through the spirit of their final inspection, which we're working on that now. The contractor's pricing that work. It's basically some life safety devices that they want to see added into the amphitheater area. So that, again, that's kind of par for the course, but we need to get that in, and then we should be finished with our OSF requirements. Now, what's still left to do at Irmo is the architects have to finish an exterior punch list inspection on the outer skin of the building. That still needs to be done. The landscaping is done. The contractor, I haven't been out there in the last week, but the contractor is should be done with the removal of all of his materials and equipment. So all of that should be looking 100% better. The architect or engineer, let me say the civil engineer, has conducted a punch list inspection of all the new asphalt or existing asphalt and the concrete curbs. So all of that's been documented, and we'll be tracking the repairs of that. We do have some pictures for you this afternoon. What is before you is the interior connector looking at down the hallway or from a couple of different angles. Some previous pictures I think I had before that, Mr. McAllister, would be the entrance to the amphitheater area going up the steps at the rear. We had a picture prior to that, I believe. Yes, there it is. That shows the overall auditorium entrance, and from a bird's eye view, you could see the inset area there where the amphitheater is, but it is kind of dark. But the other picture we have here is a cross-section view of the amphitheater itself, which kind of gives you a pretty good idea looking from one end to the other. Any questions on the ERMO project? Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the exterior punch list. How is the interior punch list coming along?
Very good point. The interior punch list, I would say, is probably 99% done. We have a few painting issues. We have, I think, one group restroom is going to get a toilet partition replacement. I don't have the history on that, being that I'm new to the project, but I understand that those toilet partitions are on order and will be replaced as soon as they come in. So we're looking very good in respect to the interior portion.
Thank you.
Mr. Gann.
Just one quick, it's probably for Mr. McAllister. I noticed you said there was an architect's punch list and an engineer's punch list and so forth. Mr. McAllister, do we as a owner, do we go through and check those lists and try to compare to other things that we may have seen too?
As a matter of fact, to make sure we try and cover everything, I actually went over and spent a couple of 2.5, 3 hours over there before spring break and offered opportunity for any faculty or staff member that had a concern that they were aware of to come in and sit down and make us aware of it. Matter of fact, I've responded to each of them with an email and told them that if their concern hadn't been addressed by May 15th, I was using their memory because I knew it was better than mine. But please get back to me. So yes, sir, we not only the architect and ourselves, but our faculty and staff and administration over there are looking.
You know, I hadn't thought of that piece. They're the people that are in it and see it. What a great idea. And I'm sure that goes on all the time. Just didn't know that. That's great.
Can you tell us what are the additions for the amphitheater that OSF is
Just
asking for?
Fire alarm devices. I think they wanted some audio-visual lights. I'm looking around in here to see if I see any, but and pull station devices so that if you're in that area, you can still sound off an alarm, and someone that's visually impaired could still see the flashing going on. And really, that would go off at the same time and should be tied into the building. So if the alarm went off in the building and you were in the amphitheater, you would know to probably go ahead and exit out the back rear entrance going down the steps to get further away from the building.
My memory tells me that I think 4 strobe lights in amphitheater, 4 strobe lights and speakers in amphitheater, and there was an emergency button they wanted on the generator. And some lights in the east connector.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Okay, we'll move forward on to Chapin Middle School. Days like this will help push us a long ways towards getting finished. Where we are on that project right now is that we're predominantly dried in roof-wise, with exception to the areas that will receive skylights. The new skylights are scheduled to arrive next Monday. It's not anticipated that that's going to be a lengthy installation process, so we are looking forward to the skylights going in very quickly. The windows around the perimeter of the building are being installed every day. We have most of the windows in on the back side. That is going, very well. The steel erection is mostly complete now. The brick veneer efforts are still going on every day, and they are closing in and starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for the brick. The rough grading for the highway road widening improvements, a lot of that has taken place. They're just looking for a larger window-wise so that they could get out there and establish their equipment and work for a good week and not just get out there and work a day and a half and have to shut everything down again. So we're keeping our fingers crossed with that. The exterior metal panels that'll go on the exterior elevations of the building, they were scheduled to arrive this week. I didn't get a chance to check on that, but we are pretty much ready to start inserting some of those metal panels that go between the windows around the classroom areas. So a lot of those areas are ready to receive those panels now. And we provided some pictures for you this afternoon. We have a couple of aerial shots, one taken from the high school looking back towards the new middle school, and the other picture is the rear view elevation, and it's hard to really see in this picture. I have some other pictures that we'll get to in a second, and that's two of them. You can kind of see in the rear, and you like to see the front for perception finish first, but I can't go there since I've only been involved a couple of months. But the back of the building is really shaping up and looking, 90% finished. We do have some more work to go on the other areas of the building, and in the further slides, you can see a couple of interior pictures here. We have the gym. I was out there, yesterday morning, and they were painting the roof deck in the gym. You can see the windows are in the gym. Really, once we get all that 100%, well, it is pretty much 100% dried in now, but once some of that overhead work gets done, you could start putting the wood floor or maple floor in, and that'll start to shape up. The other picture is the dining and stage interior, which is in pretty good shape there. We've got the roof deck painted and a lot of prime painting on the walls around the perimeter, and kind of just using that area as an interior staging area for the kitchen to set some things in there and then take them into the kitchen area. And they were also installing the cooler freezer in the kitchen when I was out there yesterday. So that is starting to shape up. I would envision that the kitchen hood should be going in very soon, and once that goes in, then you can start bringing in everything that goes under the hood, and it really starts to come together at that point. A couple of other pictures we have here are around the other exterior side view and front view elevations. We have the kitchen loading dock on the right and on the left. It's kind of hard to see the administrative entrance, but what you really get a better picture of is the classroom wing. And those, you see the brick veneer up on the classroom wing, of course the roof's over that, and then the windows will be going in there soon, and the metal panels between the windows, and then it'll start to look like a finished product on the exterior. And of course, we're, the elements outside and the conditions around 2 or 3 sides of the building are challenging, to say the least, but EdCon is still doing a good job, and they're able to navigate through the challenges of Mother Nature and still pushing every day to finish on time. Any questions?
Ms. Hammond?
When I know that we have the intermediate from the old Chapin Middle, and I know how crowded it was. What'll be our number at Chapin Middle when this opens? What is?
I think our target was out, we anticipated somewhere around 700 on opening day.
Because we're just moving them from, that we already had.
The 7th and 8th grade from
Right.
Chapin Middle will be
And 5th and 6th.
going to Chapin Middle.
Ms. Bumgarner?
Mr. McAllister, I thought the idea of asking the teachers and the staff at Irmo High School was a great idea as far as any punch list item. I hope you've afforded Chapin High teachers and staff the same opportunity.
I followed directions extremely well. The boss suggested that I might want to do that.
Oh,
And so, I did. As a matter of fact, I spent the first day at Irmo for about 2.5 hours, and the next day at Chapin, doing the same thing. And again, everybody who came in to see me, I made a point to send them an email and let them know I appreciated it. and some who couldn't make it but sent word by somebody else. I made a point to send them an email and tell them also.
Yes, Ms. Lovelace.
We're talking Chapin High School, and can you tell me, I'm on the punch list thing now, can you tell me how we are towards the punch list at Chapin?
You want to address that one? The contractor's been working on that. We still are probably a little further out than Irmo, of course. I should have gotten an exact count. I think I provided that in one of my weekly reports, but we're very close, probably inside of 20 items on the interior. Over at Chapin, the exterior, just the same as Irmo High School, and has to still yet be punched out by the architect on the exterior of the building. They were scheduled to come in there about a week and a half ago, and I'm still trying to find out from the architect's office when they're going to get there and do that. We were going to assist them in that, so to try to make sure that we didn't leave any stone uncovered.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Just as a follow-up, I'll tell you, we were actually out there walking, looking at some things today. And one big thing is we need to get the brick stain done, and then we're probably in a better position to start to really develop a punch list.
Thank you.
And Hanson, I have personally put a phone call into Hanson to get them out there, and they said they were going to schedule with S&W a time to meet out there with them together, and then I'll be looking into that too over the next week.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to our,
Dr. Hefner, I was just wondering if we want to get about the Chapin Middle School, the number of students that will start, if we can get the exact number for the board, because I think
it's closer to 800. But do you have the number, Ms. Brown, from? 794.
Okay, thanks.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but I thought it was close to 800.
Good. I just think.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's perfect. I just wanted to make sure, since we've got, people in the audience, and I know we've got the press here, and so it's good to have the good numbers. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm usually a lot better with numbers than that, but I wasn't expecting that one today.
All right. At this time, we'll go to our report from the Office of Finance and Operations. Mr. Richardson will give us an update on our Infinite Visions project.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. I'm going to call on Donna Patton to give you an update on where we are with our Infinite Vision software implementation. But just to give you a little information, especially for a couple of you that weren't on the board at the time, the board allowed us to proceed with purchasing a software product to integrate our human resources and our finance, excuse me, and hopefully reduce a lot of the paper that we push around the district now. So we've been in the implementation process now for several months, and of course it's closing in. We plan to flip the switch on July 1st. Hoping everything goes okay with that. I know we'll have some road bumps after implementation, but we are proceeding, I think, on schedule, and I just wanted her to give you an update very quickly so you'll know where we are.
Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Hefner, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you about the district conversion to Tyler Technologies Accounting and Human Resources software system called Infinite Visions. We are very excited about this new challenge. Over the last few months, we have been trained on site with a representative from Infinite Visions. The finance and HR departments have been trained on many modules, including payroll, purchasing, accounting, human resources, and security. Since the human resources and finance modules are so intertwined in the system, it has been a collaborative effort between departments, and we strive for that common goal to make this a successful venture for our district. In preparation for the go-live date of July 1st, 2015, we're going to continue with training on-site over the next few months. And in May, we're going to train our administrators, our bookkeepers, and our secretaries on the system. In addition, Infinite Visions offers a web portal for all district employees, and all district employees will have access to it. They can access it from any computer as long as they have their ID and password, and they can access very important documents like their pay stub, their W-2s. So if they get to their accountant and they have lost their W-2, they can just pull it up on the web portal and he can print it out for them. They can also check their leave balances. They can request leave through the web portal. It does a lot on the web portal. Also, they can ask for address changes, tax status changes, and all that is accessed through the web. So you do not have to be in a building in our district to be able to access that. We're going to train all employees on that web portal in August. So they will have training on how to use the web portal, and we're planning on sending them out instructions on how to use the web portal also. As you can tell, finance and HR, we're very excited about this. We're looking forward to the conversion, and we can't wait for 15, 16 to get here so we can start using it. Are there any questions that you have for me, Ms. Bombard?
Well, one of the things, we just got a passing grade from, on the advanced ed. And one of the things, I guess I could say this now, I would have pointed out as a weakness was the fact that we didn't have this system in play. I mean, I was shocked to find out, before we went down this path, how really backward we were. I hope they kind of.
We agree
Really
wholeheartedly.
were. I mean, when you're using leaf slips, I'm sorry, that's not 21st century. But in other words, it wasn't held against us since we are moving forward, you know, because in this direction, even though, like I said, as of today, it's not.
And when we have our on-site training, I'll let you know, finance and HR we have spent so much time together over the past few months in these trainings, and it's been very collaborative, and there have been a lot of aha moments. When they say something, all of our faces light up. We're so excited that we can do that. And just the reports that we can give to you and reports that we can have for ourselves, it's going to make our jobs much better and much more efficient. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patton. And we'll go back to Mr. Richardson for our monthly financial reports.
Ms. Gardner, by the way, the fact that we were transitioning was mentioned in one of the interviews that I was personally in, but I wouldn't want to call us backwards. Just maybe a little antiquated, but.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm supposed to talk about financial report for the month of March. Exhibit C you have in your packet is the revenue expenditure report for the month of March of 2015. As of March, we are 9 months through the year, which is hard to believe. It's flying. Draw your attention to the first page after the first page of revenues. Pardon me. I will draw your attention once again. I think I say this about every month, that you'll see for the current month, we don't have any tax collections reflected here because we had not received the March tax collections in time or prior to the month end. So you don't see anything from either county reflected in this report. But, you know, currently, things seem to be on track, and hopefully that will not be the case. So on the next report, you'll see some revenues there. Do you have any questions about that piece? Then I'll move on. Hearing none, I'll move on to the expenditures. Excuse me. We are, once again, on target with expenditures. We have, approximately 25%. Well, actually, as of end of March, we have 25% of the year remaining, and so we are on target with our expenditures. And of course, there's a flurry of action towards the end of the year when people know that we're shutting everything down, so you'll probably see some of these balances diminish over the next couple of months rather quickly. But I will draw your attention to the last page where it shows our budget of $163.3 million and a remaining balance of $58.1 million. Pardon me, I'm losing my voice. But I'll be glad to, I hope you have time to review this. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you may have.
Ms. Hammond?
I had one, and I feel badly about his throat. He told me it was not so good, but you can answer this quick. I was just going through this, and I guess because we are the board, under Board of Education, and I gave you this question ahead, so I know you have my answer, but I looked at that when I know the salaries had gone up as the board voted themselves a pretty hefty salary a couple of years ago, but that still doesn't make it at the $753,626.40. And so I was wondering what the contracted services benefits, what is lumped under that school board beside the salary?
Ms. Hammond, I hope I'd had the information regardless if you give me a heads up. But no, just to let you know, a lot of items, and this is based on Department of Education regulations, so a lot of items are actually reflected under the board, budgeted
Even
under
though
the
it's
board.
not an expense
Not
the board makes. That's what I
necessarily,
wanted to clear
correct.
up.
Like our tort liability insurance, insurance, for instance, is in excess of, $300,000 a year. That's reflected there.
Right.
All of our legal fees are reflected there. You've got audit fees are there, and then, of course, any kind of professional services that would be
Or
reflected there as well.
travel or anything
Oh,
like
of course,
that.
board travel, conference, that kind of thing would be there as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Hammond, since you brought that up, I believe with regards to the board stipend and the increase, I do believe that you have accepted the full increase, and I think that you also have said that you were going to open a fund
And I have.
for, I think I might need to hear a little bit more about that.
Can I do that now?
No, at a further meeting,
Okay.
because
If
I.
you'll put that on the agenda, I'll tell.
We will,
how I
because
did it through the
I think it would be
Education
good to
Foundation.
hear how much you are donating, but just to point out that, to make it clear for the record that you did accept the full board salary.
I did, and then I give the raise back to teachers, and I'll explain that to you.
Okay, we have not seen that yet, but thank you. Okay, the next, that ends the superintendent's report?
Yes, sorry.
No,
That
that-
Madam Chair, that concludes the superintendent's report. Sorry.
Thank you. We distracted you a bit, I believe. Next is public participation. We just have one person who signed up, and that's Ms. Murphy.